Over the years, I've had a few people ask, how do I get really nice circles using tiles? And just recently, I posted a picture of a work in progress backsplash, and I've had a few people ask about the circles on those too. Here's a photo up on screen now of it. Now, the thing with circles is that it depends on the tile. And if it's a hard tile, it's going to be harder to get that circle to be really, really good. If it's a softer tile, it's going to be considerably easier. So if you happen to have hard tiles, don't give up, because you just need to try a tile that's not as high fired. And there are some of those tiles around. This particular tile I have here is a wall tile. I have no idea of the brand of it. They were given to me, and I've been using these and they work quite well. Now, if you've got extremely hard tile, you can do a water method that I came up with, and that is to actually dip the tile as you're cutting around it, and dip the tile into some water for around about 10 seconds and then continue cutting. And that kind of like softens. It also works on some china plates as well. Now, I've done a video of that in my on my YouTube channel here on Treasury Road, so have a look at that. I think it's under cutting Johnston tiles, because I found that makes cutting Johnston tiles a lot easier, especially if you're wanting to shape circles. Now, how I do this is I grab a container, and this is how I get my perfectly round circle, as in marking it. And you can use any container. This one just happens to be full of vintage gems, but you can use any container that's lying around. You can use the lid. In some of on this backsplash, in some of the cases, I've actually used 3 different size circles. So you might want to have a look around and see what size suits you. On one of the ones I created, I used a cup. It was an ornament cup about that size, and I put that on the tile and traced around it just as I'm doing on this one here. And you just need a text or a marker. Hope I'm in the shot. Lift it off, and that gives me my really good guide and a good start for creating a ceramic circle. Now, you might have a different way of doing this, even the cutting process. If you do, put it down into the comments section of this YouTube video, and certainly I'll be interested in it, and I'm sure others will be interested in how you do your circles. And also, Caroline Gerrawalla has a way of cutting circles, so you might want to go to her channel, which is called Mango Mosaics, and she will also show you her way of cutting out a circle. This is the way I do it, and it is dependent on your tile, of course. So rather than go straight nipping, I like to take off a bulk mounted tile first. And the reason being is that if I was to go in here and start nipping, the tile could break around here. So as I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, cutting crockery, divide and conquer. And I go in, cut off the bulk amount. And it's kind of like a bit of double handling, I know, but it really works for me with very little mistakes of breakage and stuff like that. Then all I do is I go in and I use my double-wheeled nippers, and you can also use your compound nippers as well, but I generally use these a little bit later when I've trimmed around it with my double-wheeled nippers, and this will then finite it for me to give me that really nice smooth shape. So I just go in and I just nip on the line, and I'm just taking off small nips now. And you may also see that I'm working reasonably fast here, and there's a reason for that. I'm actually guiding the double-wheeled nippers with my finger underneath. So I'm able to use my finger, and as the double-wheeled nippers hit it, that's where I want to cut. So I can guide it up, down, in, out, and that's how I tend to be able to work quite well without making, without going really, really slow. My finger at the bottom is always guiding that wheel there. And I'm able then to just go straight into it and trim reasonably fast. And I can go back to these and nip these off as well with the double-wheeled nippers, or I can use my compound nippers. But see how nice that edge is? And I'm just going around, just kind of taking my time, but going, not too hard at it, but just going consistently at it. And also, when you're doing this, wear a P2 mask, although I know it's probably a bit difficult to get them these days at the moment, but I do wear a mask, and I also have a respirator mask as well. I'm not using one while I'm doing this video, but do use one. I always use them, and if I'm cutting outside, and sometimes I do, I cut upwind as well, because being upwind, it makes sure that the breeze is blowing any silica dust away. So that gives you a really nice edge. And I can go in here now, and if I want to, I can, oops, just got to open those. That's it. I can just finite that. Hope you can see that. See, there's just little bits coming off. And that will give me my really, really nice edge that I have there. And you can go around and do the other edge. Now, the other thing I like to do with my double-wheeled nippers, if I'm going to finite the edge and I don't want to use my compound nippers, although I do find they work really, really well, I can angle my double-wheeled nippers on an angle. So if I'm holding straight like that, I'm going to go in like that on an angle. And again, using my finger as a guide so I don't go in too far, because if I go in too far, I'm going to have to cut the circle again and it won't give me that really, really nice shape. So I just go in and I cut on an edge there, see? And by doing that, there's one there, that allows you to really finite it and you get a really nice edge on it as well. The other thing is too, when you're using double-wheeled nippers, you might find, or compound nippers, you might find it might break away from the back a little bit here, and that can make it difficult to get your double-wheeled nippers in there because it'll want to go on an angle. So by using finger at the base, I hope this is making sense, by using your finger at the base, you're able to push in and cut on an angle, and your top, when you cut, will always be really nice, like here. See? And that takes off that edge. So I hope that's helped you. Now I'm going to show you another tip that I used for my backsplash that I think you might be interested in. While I've been doing my backsplash mosaic, I've been looking at ways how I could make it a little bit different, incorporate different things into it. And up on the screen now is a photograph of some black and white tiles that I have used to create a bit of interest within the mosaic. Now, it can be a bit fiddly, kind of like arranging these to how you want, you know, on the angles. So I thought I need a quicker way and an easier way that will give me the absolute curve I want without taking too much time. And the way I came up with was a piece of plastic. Now this piece of plastic that I've got here has actually been cut off one of those storage boxes. There's, you know, those clear storage boxes and they have lids and they come in different sizes. They're available pretty well everywhere. Well, I took the lid off one because I didn't need it and I cut a piece of plastic out. And what I've been doing, and I found this works really well for me, and you may already know the idea or, you know, you could be doing something different, but what I've done is I grab the tiles and then I can curve it like that. So I'm able to get a really nice curve, and then I can go back this way if I choose. I'm able to get a really nice curve how I want it. Now, obviously you can't do a really sharp curve because if you did, you would have big gaps in between your tiles, the sharper it is, so you'd have to keystone them. So it closes the gap down. But this is just an idea. It worked well for me and it may help you in some way as well. When I'm cutting round mirror like this, sometimes this can happen. And it's happened to me in the past and occasionally happens, but not often. So how I stop that from happening, and you want a straight line, so if you're connecting it with something or putting it up against something, you want a straight line, you don't want chunks out of it like that. I tend to get the mirror, put it in the middle, your wheeled nippers in the middle, if you can see that. And you'll see it's on a slight angle. What I tend to do is straighten it with my fingers. Put in the centre, hold, and nip. And you get this really straight edge, not like this one. So by holding it in your wheeled nippers in the centre and holding it so it's flat like that, and you hold it together, it will stop the wheels from crunching to the side and doing this. Every time, or pretty well every time, you'll always get a straight line. So I just thought that's a little tip in case you didn't know. If you're having problems with mirror tiles, how to cut them so you get a nice straight line. Well, I hope that's helped you. If you have any other ideas or any ways on improving what I've done, put them down in the comments section on YouTube. I would be happy to have a look at them. I'm sure others would be happy to learn another way on doing this. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.